Are you ready to unleash your full potential and become unstoppable in your success and leadership?
Welcome to the Unleashed and Unstoppable podcast, where we provide powerful insights and strategies for coaches, corporate leaders, and entrepreneurs. I'm Alexanne Carter.
And I'm Carol Register, and we're certified master neurocoaches who are passionate about helping you overcome your limiting beliefs and optimize your performance.
Each week, we'll be sharing actionable tips and strategies using neuroscience, from interviews with industry experts to solo episodes, to help you lead a life of power, purpose, and possibility on your own terms.
Join our community of like-minded individuals. Hit subscribe now, and let's be unleashed and unstoppable together. Hey, we are so excited to be back with you this week. It is so much fun to bring this show to you each and every week, to bring you the value of knowing how you can be unleashed and unstoppable. And oh man, are we excited? We want you to meet Belinda Rosenblum. Now, we talk a lot about the neuroscience, changing your mindset around abundance. You're going to hear something about some solid strategy today. And she's been in the business for 16 years, very experienced, very successful. She's a CPA and profit strategist of Own Your Money. And she helps female entrepreneurs like you to really know what your income ceiling is and monetize your expertise and your energy. And man, am I excited to have you here. I know you really believe that women need to feel worthy and safe with money and consistently take home the money they want each month. Oof, yes, I'm a yes to that.
Yes.
So, and I know you became a self-made millionaire at age 33. You've helped your clients and students make or save well over 5 million. So I am so excited, we both are, to dive in. Will you share more about your story, Belinda, and welcome?
Awesome. Thank you. It's so great to be here. Carol and Alex Leanne, so fun. And I am all about unleashed and unstoppable. I find that so much of the time we end up being capped. You know, you talked about kind of knowing your income ceiling, but then it's really busting through it, because so often we think like, oh, I just want to go after $100,000. Then we actually get there and we're like, wait, 6 figures isn't enough. Yeah. Like if I either want to be the sole breadwinner or the main breadwinner, or even make the contribution that I want to make to my household, then I need to be making more, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. That's part of the unleash that I want, is that I want to unlock the profit for so many people, because it feels like it's in this treasure chest with a really heavy deadbolt on it. And it's like, no, here's the key. Let's open it up and then let's enjoy the treasure that's inside. Because honestly, most of the time people feel very stuck. You know, and they're like, okay, I'm doing everything I know how to do, but I just can't get past where I've been. And they start to see this plateau happen. And I, in terms of my story, it's interesting because, as you said, I started this 16 years ago. And back then, like, I'm a bit of a dinosaur, a pro, however you want to look at it, right? But like, there was no Zoom, there was no like online courses, like all that stuff. And back then, and I don't think there was even entrepreneurship, honestly, wasn't what it is now. Like, I love that it's like commonplace. It's like for people to start businesses, like, yes, let's do it. When I started, basically my family and friends had an intervention for me in the first 6 months of starting my business. They're like, why are you leaving behind a 6-figure salary? Like, are you kidding me? Right? Because I used to work for one of the big accounting firms, and then I was a divisional controller. So I started this business, and I hired a business coach that was really focused on revenue. And I think that happens a lot, right? That they just want you to go after like a big revenue number. And there wasn't a lot of conversation about profit. So the first year, like I grossed, first full year, 65K in revenue. And I lost money, like over $30,000. But I was like doing a new website, taking all the courses, like doing all the things. And I was like, okay, I get it. Now the second year, I'm going to take you to when I open up my financials and I'm sitting in my like bedroom turned home office. And I literally open this email and I start to burst into tears. And I have just been working my tail off, doing all the things. Like I was even on TV that year. And this was like let's see, to give you context. So I started in 2007, 2008 was my full year. We know what happened in 2008, right?
Yeah.
In 2009, though, I became very popular because I was doing personal finance at the time and nobody was talking about money stress and all the challenges that we have. So I was literally on the 5 o'clock news the day of the federal bailout and like in Yahoo Finance and did like a ton of just education, helping people understand, did a ton of speaking. So I'm working all of this. And then I open up my profit and loss statement from my bookkeeper and it showed that my profit, brace yourself, was $2,348. Now that might not be so bad, except literally 2 weeks before I was celebrating myself for being the bomb.com because I had revenue of $155,000.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what's wrong with that math, right?
Yeah.
The math wasn't mathing. And I think, what was happening was that I was so focused on the top line that I hadn't really paid enough attention to what I was taking home. Right. And I started to just realize that I had just created a job for myself. Like I went from a 9 to 5 to a 24/7 job with a really demanding boss, by the way, that had me work all the time, all over the place. And
can definitely relate.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But I had become a volunteer. Like my business had turned into this unintentional nonprofit. Right. Yeah. Because I wasn't actually making money. It was like barely breaking even. And I know that my instinct is that you attract really like people who want to create an impact on the world, and that given who the two of you are, right? And that what I found though was that I was so committed to that I was forgetting about the fact that my business and my bank account needed to make money. Like I couldn't pay my mortgage with like all the thank yous and like, oh, that's great. And all that, it's just didn't work because at this point I was like, am I going to have to go back and get a job? Like I can't keep this up at this rate. It didn't feel like what I had signed up for. I was like, there has to be a better way. And what was interesting is that I had to work through a lot of my own mindset challenges, right? Like I had done the work to be able to charge and to put myself out there. But then it was like, okay, wait a second, maybe I just need to make more revenue. And I was like, wait a second, 2 years ago, I made 0 and I took home 0. Now I made 155 and I took home 2. Yeah. Like the system just felt broken.
Yeah.
Right. It felt like we were just focusing on the wrong things. And I think all of us have kind of heard the stories of like the business owner that makes $1 million and spends 1.2 million and then ends up in debt.
Yes.
Like that doesn't serve. And so I was like, okay, it has to be about more than the top line. And then I was like, maybe I just need to work harder because I think I have a deep work ethic, as so many of us do, right? Yeah. That are entrepreneurs or starting, something. And that was a resistance. And I was like, maybe I just need to work harder. And I'm like, in what hours?
Right.
like how would I even do that? If I like, let's say because the other thing I was like, well, maybe I need to spend less on team. And I was like, well, but then if I take work from them, then I really won't be able to do more revenue generating activities. And I was like, okay, time out. Like I knew that I had to start to make some changes. And so a few of the key things that I did, I optimized my team's effectiveness in a different way, right? So that I focused them on the priorities that really mattered. Yeah. And that initially like just started to dramatically increase the results. And I put more constraints on their time. I don't know if you guys have heard of Parkinson's law, where it's like the work expands to the time you give it. Yeah. And I didn't give it constraints. So I really started to like put on my CEO hat and direct the team that I had more. Second thing I did was I built leverage in. I think that's something else that we think we have to do it all on our own, but we're really leaving money on the table, honestly, when we're so busy doing all the things and doing all the $10 tasks instead of doing the $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 things that we could be doing, right? To be creating affiliate partnerships and getting on podcasts, like doing the bigger things, right?
Yeah.
That was a second one.
A couple of these are principles of wealth. I teach over 30 principles of wealth and actually have a private podcast going on about that right now. One of the things I want to touch on is like those principles are immutable laws. They just work. And the way you're talking about actually applying them and the scale and directing your team, looking at these factors, I think is something that is super powerful for female entrepreneurs in particular. And I even want to touch back on something you said in the very beginning, Belinda. You mentioned that glass ceiling. And I've actually been talking about this lately because from a neuroscience perspective, and I know what you do, you're touching in these neuroscience aspects all the time, and probably they're a key component in your programs, is that we have limiting beliefs that were wired in our childhood, and we all have a number or series of numbers that were wired in. And it's super interesting how you mentioned they get up to that ceiling, 200, 250, and then it stops. What happens? What have you found blueprint happens to what have you experienced? What's happened to your clients when they hit that number? What do they go through?
Yeah. So let me just finish. I'll just close the loop on the story really quick so that I don't want to leave people hanging. The third thing I did was I created a profit plan, and I really reviewed the offers that I had. Right. And I was like, okay, wait a second. And I hired another coach. So now I was billing out her hours plus my hours, and I raised them, and I created a plan that had what I call high profit offers, not just seeing all revenue as the same, and I think that was a really important point. And then the next year I had 250 of revenue and 100 of profit, right? Like I really started to figure out, okay, wait, I can do this, right? But I had to own my role as the CEO, or what I now call the Cash Flow CEO. That was really, thank you. Right. It's like the CEO who knows her numbers, then she's the one that can scale the revenues and the profits and really build the sustainable business. So, so I definitely, it's interesting. I actually saw that even for myself before I understood all of this and studied all of this, that I left my job in 2006. I worked 3 weeks, actual weeks in an office. And then I went to India for a month, and I lived, eat, pray, love. And that's a story for another time. Yeah. It was a fantastic year. I highly recommend. Spent a month in Costa Rica volunteering. And anyway, I made within $2,000 that year as I did the entire prior year. And I was like, clearly I know what my what my internal ceiling was. I did way back, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind stuff, which is probably a more basic version of all the stuff that you're doing. But what I find with entrepreneurs is that it's twofold, which is why I love that we're having this conversation today, because I find that there's the internal side, right? The internal blocks that they have that say it's safe at this level. If I were to grow past this level, that's when all the crap will hit the fan. Can I curse on your website? All this shit will hit the fan, right? This feels safe, but if I go to that next level, then it's going to affect my family. Then I'm really not going to have time for myself. Then, I'm going to lose the flexibility that I want. There's an emotional side to the cap. And then there's usually also a strategy side. It's I don't know what to do differently. And I find that most of my people are willing to work, they're willing to show up to their office every day and to do things and have sales calls and put themselves out there, but they want to make sure they're doing the right things. And because they feel like sometimes they're wasting their time, or they're not really sure if they're working on the things that will actually move the needle in the business. And then that's where I come in, where I touch on the fears on the growth side. I literally wrote a book with a psychotherapist because I was so excited to learn this.
Wow.
Yeah. It's called Self-Worth to Net Worth.
I love that.
Oh,
It's at selfworthbook.com, but I'll give you the link so you can put it in the notes too. And that was in 2012 we published it. That's why I can own selfworthbook.com, because no one was having that conversation back then.
Wow.
Right?
That's amazing.
And so I really wanted to understand that. And that's when I was doing personal finance, but honestly, it totally carries over both to the personal finance side and the entrepreneurial side. And then now what I found is that it's really bringing the two together, the harmony of being willing to move through the fear, accept the fear and realize. I just gave a little pep talk on our Cash Flow CEO call on Tuesday that it's not you're not going to have the fear. It's just that you learn how to be with the fear, and you learn how to role model being on the other side of the fear. And I've even been going through some of it myself, as we're heading into the next plateau, the next level this year. And it was interesting because I'm I get super curious about it. That's the word that I like people to use, is like, instead of judgmental about themselves or feeling like there's something wrong, like, how
She's
can you be
speaking our
curious?
language.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And then, so I talked to my mom about it, because I feel like that's where some of my stuff came from.
Yeah.
And because she was an entrepreneur and she worked a lot. And at the beginning, I think the part of me earning only $2K that second year was somehow continuing that generational under earning, honestly, until I healed it and faced it, and started to realize like that was part of it. And when I talked to her about like how we felt like as she started to grow, we were getting more neglected, or like, get out of my office, or like, I can't talk kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she said, I was a single mom trying to put food on the table. And like all I could, like what I thought I had to do was put clients first above all else. So like, it was really hard for me. And so that was helpful to hear, right? Because it's like, I'm drawing this conclusion with the mind of a 10-year-old. You know what I mean? I don't have a 52-year-old now, like being able to look at that and be like, oh, what's the reality of why she was doing it,
So powerful.
And and then I like made a decision in that moment that I can either stay in the fear, right, of what could happen if we grow and how I could be neglecting my family, or choose to be a role model for the growth and for showing other moms how they can also be making millions and support their family, like, contribute for sure from a financial standpoint, but how can they role model even what's possible for their kids, and changing the generational patterns that they, our entrepreneurs listening might be facing as well.
I love that.
So, I was gonna say, I mean, it comes down, you always have choice, right?
Right.
So you have the choice of which path to, I was talking about like the devil on your shoulder and the angel, right? Of like looking, like you have a choice, like which way you go. And so, I appreciate you sharing that with the listener, Belinda. Just what came to me was, as you're sharing, like you're heading to that next level. I'm curious to know what else you do to prepare for that, so that the listener, to walk through, like whether they're noticing they're hitting that glass ceiling, or like, okay, I just broke through and now I get to prepare myself for that next. Cause I know even with the neuroscience work, we will often talk, our clients are entrepreneurs or in any way, right? Like wherever you are with your financial journey, like as you're preparing for that first level, like say 0 to 6 figures, then 6 to 7. It's like, you might as well prime in being 7, because you'll get to 6 and you're going to hit that ceiling again. So you might as well, you know what I mean? You might as well lean in to prime that next stage. So I'm curious.
Create the foundation for the next level. Yeah, totally.
Like
so
how you're preparing yourself, your mindset for that. And
so to me, and then this is how we prepare our students, right? So we have this Cash Flow CEO model, and I find that all 4, they're almost like legs on a table, right? So these 4 aspects that you really need to dial in on to be able to feel like you have a solid foundation. So many people honestly are trying to like build this empire, but it has a foundation of sand, right? So like they can barely build a shack on it, and they're trying to build a 20-story building, and they're like, this doesn't feel very safe. Well, that's why, right? And so 4 components. So 1 is your CEO mindset, and that's really going to be the whole mental game that you all know so much about, right? And really, how do you become that identity of that CEO, work through those limiting beliefs, change your money story. I talk a lot about rewriting that story and really recognizing what was true and what were the conclusions that you drew, right? And really evolving, right? That woman. It's almost entirely women that we work with. So one leg is the mindset. 2 is your money system. And so a lot of people think that their money system can just be like tracking and Stripe. That's not a money system. That's just a payment processor, and that gives you reporting, right? We actually need up to like 50 or 100K. It can be a really nice spreadsheet. And so we can, we don't make a super detailed one like that. Most of our clients will use a QuickBooks, and then we have a whole bookkeeping, a bunch of bookkeepers that we recommend. And we have inside the program, we have a bookkeeping toolkit to be like, how do you work with them? What do the reports mean? All that sort of stuff. But so you really have to dial in the money system so that you feel organized, you're tracking your money, you're managing your expenses. You're not wondering like, where did all my money go? Like I hear that a lot, right? Third aspect is the strategy, and that's really your profit plan to scale. And so in that one, it's where we look to what's the vision that you have for the business and the life that you want. You know, we say profit first, fantastic book by Mike Michalowicz. I say life first. So it's like, how do we design the business to support the life that you want, both financially, time freedom wise, location freedom wise, right? Most of the time, our businesses are just built out of default. It's just what do I need to do? Let's just keep doing it. Okay, go, right? And my whole thing is really, how do we create the vision and then design the business with the right revenue goals, with the right offers. You know, I love talking about offers at the right rates. I think most people are undercharging too, because they just don't understand the importance of pricing and how it flows through everything. And then be able to manage that profit plan, because it's not always going to go according to plan. So we need to understand. And then the fourth piece is a support system. I believe that if you can achieve all these goals on your own, you're probably not thinking big enough, right? And so it's, how do you have some sort of support system so that whether it's a coach, a community, you know, I think that's so crucial, that we feel so lonely as entrepreneurs, like all in our own. Yes, we're connected on social, but we're not really connected in the same way that we used to be when we were in like a big office and that kind of thing. And so community is important. And then a team, like, you know, even if we start out with one VA, we grow it to, you know, 2 or 3, but that we create a team of people. So you feel like you have the spaciousness to work on the business and not just in the business all the time. Because a lot of people have just created jobs for themselves, right? Where they're not getting paid enough.
Totally guilty.
Right. Yeah. And so I think those foundations, and once you feel like you have those, like you lock those in, kind of locked and loaded, then it's like, okay, boom, now we can be off to the races. Like, we don't give it enough credit. How, like, when we're band-aiding our systems together, or when we don't really have that figured out, how we kind of push away money because we feel like, okay, you know what, if I have more and then I'm not taking good care of it, I'm going to feel worse. So I'm just going to stay over here. That's another one of those ways that's a glass ceiling game too. I mean, sets that ceiling, you know, for us, right?
What my experience has been with myself and with my clients is that whatever that number or series of numbers is, that when you are stretching to that next level. So I love that you put mindset first, that you're going to be finding ways to give it away to meet that number that's in your subconscious that you don't even realize is there. So, you know,
you'll push it away. You won't go after it. You know, and I say mindset, but honestly, I come from a very heart focused place. Like, I really feel like it's not just what we're thinking, it's how we're feeling. It's how we're emotionally connected or disconnected to what we want to create. And the more that I can emotionally connect you to the future that you want, that's where the magic starts to happen, right? When you feel more drawn and pulled forward by the vision instead of feeling pulled back, you know, or pushed back by the fears that you have.
I love that. And also, you know, you mentioned, like, just to recap too, you mentioned mindset, and then a money system, a tracking system. And then you mentioned being able to scale was next. Right. And then community.
Strategy in the profit plan.
Strategy and community and team. And
the support system.
Having that whole system, I think, is such a beautiful gift for you to
we have like a whole framework. It's like a whole thing. Like, I didn't just come up with those 4 things off the cuff. Like, this is like a well thought out.
Of course not. This is a plan and what you teach, and going back to all your years of experience. But you mentioned something about pricing, and before we wrap up, I would love to know more about that. Would you touch on that? What you'd like to share with us today?
Yeah. So 2 aspects I feel like could be really important in this conversation. I feel like one of them is the setting of the revenue goals, right? And sort of how pricing figures into that. So I find that oftentimes people are choosing arbitrary revenue goals. They're like, oh, I'm at 50K, I'll go for 60K. Or, oh, I'm at 100, I think maybe I can do 110 or 120. It's completely pulled out of the air, you know? And so I created this thing called the Pay Yourself Calculator that has people get intentional about the revenue goal so that they can get paid. Because oftentimes they just take the scraps. They take like whatever's left. And instead of profit being planned, it feels like this happy accident. Like, oh, I made money. Great. I can take my salary this month. No, I want you to have enough coming in so that there's a consistent salary that you get to take on the first of every month. Like that, the bills you're paying this month, you have the money from last month or 2 months beforehand, right? So you don't feel like you're in the paycheck to paycheck equivalent for entrepreneurs, right? So I feel like that's an important element is to understand, and I'll make sure that the calculator, it's at ownyourmoney.com/calculator, but I'll make sure that you have the link in the show notes and all those things.
Okay. Awesome tools.
Because I feel like
amazing.
So once we can set the right revenue goals, okay, then that frees us to say, okay, remind myself, I have an unlimited ability to make money as an entrepreneur. So how do I want to make the money? And I think sometimes we just limit ourselves. We think, oh, okay, I can make 5K, I can make 6K. It's like, well, you could probably make 10K a month, right? But we need to be strategic about what you're selling, right? And what price you're selling it at. And a lot of times people first start with what I want to charge. And I'm like, okay, wait, back up. So inside Cash Flow CEO, I teach this irresistible offer lab. And a lot of people want to start with pricing. And I actually pull it back and I say, first, we need to figure out the problem that you're solving. Is the problem that you're solving expensive enough that people will pay the price that you want? And then we can look at, okay, next, who are you serving? Who has that problem and is willing to pay? Like I could have 2 pairs of white sneakers here, right? And I could have a pair from Walmart for $17 and I could have a pair from Hermes. I looked up $1,200, right? There will be a buyer for each price point. So we have to decide, who do you want to be, right? What kind of results are you creating? And then we can figure out what we're going to price it at. Right. Yeah. And part of it depends, like, is it an everyday problem that people kind of live with and that they don't really want to invest in? Or is it something that they see that and they're like, oh my gosh, like that's been a thing for me for so long. If I could only break through that income ceiling, if I could only take care of my health in that way, if I could only like do that thing, then what becomes possible, you know? And, so I feel like it's really understanding how crucial the offers are that are making up the revenue, and then being intentional about the pricing that you have for each of those offers so that they make sense together, even, right? Instead of standalone, but that they position each other, right, in a way that drives people to the one that you want them to take mostly. Like there's a lot of psychology that actually goes into pricing and strategy that figures in. And I don't think people put enough attention to that. They often either don't understand it enough, or I just got a question today around like, you know, I get concerned if I raise my price, then am I going to be able to fulfill at that level? It's like an integrity thing. And one of the key things that we help people to do is to articulate the value of what they're selling. And once they can do that, then they can be like, yeah, it's totally worth that price. Cause look, I'm thinking one of our students, like she had 11K month, and then a 25K month in her second month in our program. Right. And it's like, when you can start to show people results, then they will be more willing to invest, right? It will make more sense to them. But most of the time, the business owner doesn't know how to articulate the value. So then the person that you're talking to isn't clear because you're not clear. You know, and we think that it's about them, but sometimes it's actually about you getting better at how you talk about what you're doing, how you talk about the results, how you are really showing them the value and the difference it's going to make in their life. You know, we've heard that saying, right? Like, don't sell the plane, sell the destination. You guys heard of that conversation, right? So a lot of times people get so caught up in the features, right? That they forget the features is the plane, right? It's like a 747, how many seats it has, how long it's going to take, right? But really what they want is they want to get there. They want to get to the destination fast, easy, you know, as well as easy as they can. And when people get so caught up in the features, they're not actually connecting with people on what they really want and what's going to be the thing that's going to support them to buy. Right. So it's one of those things that a lot of times when we work on offers, pricing is a key component of it, but it's understanding what can go into a high profit offer and how that differs from just a high ticket offer. I actually did a live on this that they can go back and watch. And I'm on IG at Own Your Money, and I'm doing I did a video on exactly this thing, like the difference between high ticket and high profit. And the funny part is sometimes high profit doesn't have to be high ticket.
Right.
Right. And high ticket does not have to be high profit. Like there's a definite distinction. Yeah. And so I really want to show people that all revenue is not created equal, that when we're setting the revenue goal, then we get to be strategic about what we're even offering and what we're charging for it. And to make sure that when we look at our profit and loss statement, you're not crying like I was with $2,000. And then instead, you're seeing how you can be paying yourself a consistent salary that actually funds your life.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. If they're listening to this real time, absolutely. We check out that High Profit Offers Masterclass we have happening this week, because I feel like it'll really start to shine a lot of light on exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So and how do you do that?
Speaking of that, your program is opening the day that this is out, February 5th. It's the Cash Flow CEO Accelerator program. And what are the final thoughts you'd like to leave us with?
Oh, it's so good. I think that it's really understanding that like, no matter where you are, we can still get you where you want to go. I think that a lot of times people tolerate the where they are and they feel like, is this all there is? There is another level, but we need to take all that you've experienced up to this point and bring all of that together. I think a lot of times people feel guilty or ashamed that, I've taken all these other programs, like, why aren't I where I want to be? Yeah. And I want to tell you, like, oftentimes it's having the support to bring it all together, that there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. It's just that it's hard to piecemeal all these different things and figure out like what's really going to be right for me. Yeah. It's partly why what we've done we used to have our accelerator where we'd have like 40 people at any given time. And we really shrunk it and added weekly accountability and added real high touch, because we know what that can feel like when you're feeling lost or like in this big program and not getting the attention that you need. So,
I love that.
I want everyone to get that, like, it's okay. I get where you are, and we just need to put the pieces together in a way that actually form the puzzle. Don't just leave you with more pieces and feeling like, am I missing some pieces? Like, why isn't this working? Right. But that we can really like get you moving in the right direction. You don't have to feel blindfolded driving that business car. We just have to show you the path, show you the roadmap.
Belinda, I know we're all about like call to actions here. So in addition to obviously checking out the webinar that you have put together, what other like action step would you advise the listener to take on what you shared today to support them in shifting that? I love that shift from looking at revenue versus profit. So really operating in that profit place. What is the first thing that you would say to go and take action on to just, put this into to
do that? Yeah. I love it, Alex Leanne. It's all good. I feel like it's, I think the distinction is, yes, we need to focus on revenue and profits. Know that focusing on profits does not make you money hungry or greedy or any of that. I think that sometimes people have this very negative impression of people with money or people who do focus on profits. It is not profit at all cost. That's why I said life first. It's not just profits above taking care of our people. There is absolutely a way and a harmony where you can take care of yourself, you can take care of your clients, and you can still take care of the bottom line of the business. Right. We might need to teach you how to do it, but there's absolutely a way to do it. And I think one of the key places to get started is by setting a revenue goal for 2024 that is meaningful. That is one that will actually pay you what you want, will serve the clients in the way that you want to serve them, will allow you to have the life that you want, but won't have you be frustrated in a year from now being like, oh, another year where I didn't quite get what I wanted to get to. Right. So that's why we put data behind it. That's why we say use the pay yourself calculator. You just fill in 3 numbers. Like, what do you want to make? What do you want to spend in the business? And do you have any other debt or reserves that we want to build up or pay off? And then boom, it shows you what your revenue needs to be. Then you can feel more intentional about creating it, because you can connect. I guess that third piece is connect why you want to be leading the business and why you want to be taking home what you want to be taking home. So that let's just say that you came up with the number that you want to pay yourself because you want to finally take that summer vacation with your family, or you want to upgrade something in your house, or you just want like more ease in paying your bills. Like whatever is the reason, connect with that, because then it won't feel like it's just about the dollars. You're connecting with like, why do I want the dollars? Usually just the dollars themselves feel kind of empty. But if you connect with like, what it's going to do for your family right now. Like my kids can do those activities that they wanted to do, or I have another client who's like sending her child to private school, which has been like a thing she really wanted to do, or go to the summer camp that she really wanted. Like connect the making money, yes, with helping clients. Like I absolutely think the more money we make, the more clients we're serving. Right. So when you remind yourself, wait, selling is serving, because I'm not just making money. Like clients are getting helped in the process. Right. But then you also connect that with why do you want that for yourself, for your family? So it doesn't feel like they're suffering. They're actually going to benefit as you make more money.
Why that'll make you cry. I always call it that, right? The why that'll make you cry, right? Getting really connected with your heart and what's really in there, right? So not just the mechanical, but really, as you said, like the why behind what you're generating and creating for yourself and your family.
That's how you know you've tapped into a really good why. Yeah. Right. Like when I was sharing my 2K story, when I was sharing the stuff with my mom and role modeling that, like that chokes me up. You know, and like when you can tap into those things that choke you up, like you're in right now, because it's a podcast and they can't see you, but that's where you're onto something. Yeah. Right. That's where it's like you want to lean in and be like, right, how do I bring more of that woman to everything that I'm doing in my business?
Right. Yeah. And by the way, we are on YouTube and the link is in our show notes. So
so you can also go watch it on video, just in case.
That's right. That's right.
I love it.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for bringing your wisdom. I mean, I'm just absorbing. There's so much resonance between what we do and what you do, and combining together is so powerful. Amazing. And the way you're helping each and every one of us to unleash our power to be unstoppable, connecting with that heart piece, and yet having the strategy, the actual steps to move forward. And that cash flow calculator, or I'm sorry, say the name of it again. I want to make sure that's a free gift for people. Is that correct?
The Pay Yourself Calculator.
Pay Yourself Calculator.
It's in the program, but I pulled it out because I want it to be something that is an easy action that you can take. And there's even a spot in there where it'll show you how to double your take-home pay. Wow. Like based on your current reality, this is what it would take to double what you pay yourself. Because I believe it's possible. We have an unlimited ability to make money. I think of it like people have been digging the well and now it's time to pump the profits out, but they just haven't known how to do it. So teach it out.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And we will see you, leaders, high achievers, next week with more great information. And aren't you just drinking this in, all this wisdom that Belinda just dropped on us? And I know I am. I am always learning, no matter where I'm at in my journey. And I know we all are. So can't wait to see you. Ciao for now.
Bye, everyone. Thanks so much, Belinda, for being here today. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Unleashed Unstoppable podcast with your hosts, Alexandra Carter and Carol Register.
If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review, and subscribe.
That's all for this episode, Wildly Ambitious Leaders. See you next week.